So continuing with activity 2, although we have finalized basically the tables, we will add some kind of validations based on these requirements here. So the first thing that we will do is we will make sure that a record will not save without the surname and telephone number of the volunteer information being present. That is basically validation that corresponds to something called presence check that we can see down here. Yeah. So basically this will be part of the activity, of course the different scenario and maybe different requirements, but we will go through this so that we get used to the idea of presence check and all the others, and we will do all of these requirements. Yeah. So let's start with the first one. A record will not be saved without the surname and telephone number of the volunteer information being present. The volunteer present and the fields of the volunteer are in the volunteer table. Yeah. So we open the volunteer table in design view. We go to the validation rule field here. We're creating validations. This is the task. Yeah. Basically, remember, the word validation is written only up here, as well as the table structures must use suitable validation to meet these requirements. So know that all of this is validation that we enter. So we're talking about the record will not save without the surname and the telephone number of the volunteer information being present. So let's deal with that first. So let's go to the mobile phone number, and we have to say here is not null. Along the validation rule, we have to add validation text. Remember, you cannot add one without the other. You can, but if you don't, you will get a warning from the Windows operating system, so from the application itself. Yeah, a generic warning. We want to receive specific warnings, and you will lose points if you don't enter validation text. So remember, when in activity 2 they talk about validation, immediately you go to the field that needs the validation. For instance, we clicked on the mobile volunteer mobile phone here, and we said is not null. The text should be please enter phone number. Okay, that's all. You click somewhere else, click up there. So now you've got the validation rule and the validation text, and you will be marked on that. Yeah. The next thing that we have to see is that it says a record will not save without the surname and the telephone number. So now we have to create a validation on the surname as well. So let's go to the surname, validation surname, and basically is not null again. So validation rule is not null. So null, if you've never heard that before, that word before, means nothing. Is not nothing, is empty. So we don't say that is null, is empty, is not null, is not empty. So basically we're complying with the bit that says here will not save without the surname, Please enter surname. So this is correct, but somebody may write you must enter a surname. So there you have it. The two validation rules comply with a record will not save without the surname and telephone number of the volunteer information being present, and corresponds to a presence check. If the telephone number or the surname are not present, it will not save. In the next lesson, we will continue with the next requirement down here, this one.